welcome to That's Vegetarian. I am Karen Buchholz and I am your chef. On That's Vegetarian, we take everyday meat recipes and convert them to vegetarian recipes, as well as introduce you to some fantastic vegetarian recipes that will be filling, and even the most voracious meat eater will enjoy them. Today's recipe is a creamy polenta with caramelized leeks, onions, and fennel, topped with mushrooms sautéed in a balsamic vinegar. So first we'll start off with polenta. Polenta is the same as yellow cornmeal, so you can save money by just buying cornmeal instead of the fancy labeled polenta. Next, we have yellow onions. We took the yellow onions and we cut them in 1/4-inch slices so they'll sauté and caramelize nicely. We also have the fennel. The fennel we cut in 1/4-inch slices. We'll caramelize that as well. We have the leeks. I took 1 stalk, which we'll simply just sauté. At the very end of the polenta, we will add the goat cheese. You can also use gorgonzola cheese if you want, but it's a little bit more pungent. I went for a bit of a softer taste, so I have the goat cheese. Mushrooms. I am using brown mushrooms. You can also use crimini mushrooms. You can use baby bellas. You can use regular portobello mushrooms. I like the brown mushrooms because they have a bit more flavor than just the plain old white button mushrooms. Now that we have our ingredients together, let's move over to the stove and start cooking. First thing we're going to do are the yellow onions and the fennel because they will take the longest to caramelize. You want to do it at a low temperature and taking your time so the sugars really do come out in them. What I like to use is I like to use a misto or any other kind of sprayer for the olive oil and stuff, because then it makes it a little bit healthier because you don't have as much in there. So you just give it a few pumps and spray it in. I prefer to use the misto as opposed to the store-bought sprayers because you know what olive oil you're putting in there. So first we have the onions, the yellow onions. And the fennel. Once again, if you're a little wary on using fennel because you're not too keen on the anise taste, saute it in a separate pan and then you can add it and taste it and see if you like it. I'm going to cook them together. Next, in this pan back here, I am going to spray it with the misto. And in go the leeks. They won't take very long because they are rather thinly sliced. Over here I have 1 cup of vegetable broth, which I then put 2 cups of water in to kind of dilute it a little bit. It helps add a little bit of flavor to the polenta. I prefer to do the 1-to-2 ratio because then it's not overpowering. Next, I already pre-measured the 1/2 cup of polenta to go in the 3 cups of liquid. And it's important to whisk the polenta in. You don't want it to get clumpy. So we have the polenta whisked into the broth, and we're just going to let it sit and go back to it and visit it every so often to check it out. I'm going to give a little stir to the leeks and make sure that I'm on a lower heat because we don't want them to get too crispy and burnt since they won't take too long to cook. Stir up the fennel and the onions. And now let's get the mushrooms going. I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of wine. And the wine, of course, is optional. And I have some balsamic vinegar. I'll add about 1/2 cup of that.
We are going to reduce the balsamic vinegar and wine on a simmer for about 3 minutes, then add the mushrooms. You'll want to occasionally stir the polenta so it doesn't stick and clump. When the onion and fennel turn golden brown, you'll add 2/3 cup of red wine if you're using wine. Mix it in and continue to simmer until wine evaporates. The mushrooms are done when the liquid is gone. When you stir in the polenta and it holds its shape, mix in the goat cheese along with the leeks and stir until the cheese is melted. We plated up our polenta. You'll see that we put the polenta on the bottom, we put the balsamic mushrooms on top, and the caramelized fennel and onions to the side. And we garnished it with a little bit of the top of the fennel. To complete it, I'm going to put some fresh ground pepper, and some extra virgin olive oil. It's important to have 2 types of olive oil in the house. You have your cooking olive oil, and then you have your finishing olive oil. Your finishing olive oil will probably be a little bit stronger and more flavorful than your cooking olive oil, and it just gives it a nice touch at the very end.